everybody, and welcome to the ninth episode of my podcast. My name is Isam Hijazi, and as usual, I am going to be your host. You are currently watching this live all the way from Sydney, Australia, and this is being streamed live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Today's topic will be building and managing advanced analytics and AI teams. See, organizations need to design, hire, and manage their analytics team. And all organizations want their analytics team to obviously function and perform in a highly effective manner. But analytics teams are not like development teams or typical project teams, and they do require a different approach. So what are the best practices relating to investing in, hiring, and managing your analytics team? How to manage its growth into hybrid organizations, because eventually they will, and is there any robust analytics processes that could be used to derive results into the real world and a way to maybe productionize these processes? Now, to answer these questions and expand on the topic, I'm really glad to be joined by John Thompson in this episode. John is an international technology executive with over 30 years of experience in the business intelligence and advanced analytics fields. Currently, John is responsible for global advanced analytics and artificial intelligence teams and efforts at CSL. Prior to CSL, he was an executive partner at Gartner, where he was a management consultant to market-leading companies in the areas of digital transformation, data monetization, and advanced analytics. And right before that, John was responsible for the advanced analytics team at the Dell Software Group. So all in all, he's the right person for the right topic, and I'm really glad to have him today in our episode. Now, before we get started, I would like to ask everybody to do simple things. And those simple things is basically to get our video reaching more people. So if you click on the like button, regardless you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, it will help quite a lot. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe button on the bottom right over there. And since this is a live podcast, anything that you write in the comments or the chat will be visible to myself as well as John. So we want you to be interactive, ask us any questions, give us your feedback, your opinion, or simply say hello and where you are from. We'd love to say hello back to you. All right, so without further delay, let's get started. John, good evening to you, sir. It's good to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm great, Isam. How are you? Thanks so much for inviting me. So happy to be here.
Excellent. I'm happy to have you as well, John. First of all, I want to say congratulations to you guys in the US. You've been having a rough month, I guess, politically speaking. And eventually you had a peaceful transition of power. So well done on that. And hopefully 2021 is going to be a great year for the US and the whole world, obviously.
We're hoping. Yes, it's the transition's behind us. We're all very happy about that, and we're excited about the new administration.
Yep, let's hope it all goes well. So on our topic, John, I want to start by asking you, why do you think that organizations need analytical teams? And when I say they need analytical team, I mean specialized or dedicated teams.
It's a great question, Isam, and a wonderful way to start out our discussion. I've been building and managing advanced analytics teams for decades now. I looked the other day and it's actually 37 years. So it's been a long time. And what I realized over those decades is that, analytics teams are more like creative teams than they are, as you said in the intro, like a development team or a project team. There's a lot of creativity that goes into building advanced analytics. It's not something that starts at point A and ends at point C or D or E or F even. There's a lot of iteration. There's a fair amount of creativity. There's subjectivity. There's a wide range of data brought into it. And we see that there's some frustration that advanced analytics and artificial intelligence isn't delivering the results to organizations. And I maintain that part of the reason that it's not delivering is that the people that are managing those teams have the wrong expectations. They're expecting those teams to look like something that's putting in Salesforce.com or putting in a ERP system from SAP, and that's just not the way it works. Sometimes you go down paths and you think you can do things, and you either don't have the data, or you don't have the math, or you don't have the skills, and it just doesn't work out. So some of these projects fail, and you have to be ready for that outcome in some cases.
So you're saying the traditional way of having businesses hiring a BI specialist who is serving everybody in the organization is not really effective anymore. We need some people, a group who are actually specialized and know what they are doing and utilizing new advanced analytic methods in order to get us value from the data that we have.
Exactly. I mean, I'll give you a quick example. About a year and a half ago, someone came to my team at CSL, came to me and said, "Hey, we'd like your team to undertake and do robotic process automation projects." And I said respectfully, no. And they said, "What are you talking about? RPA, AI, it's all the same." And I said, no, RPA is more like business intelligence. You can get very smart business analysts and very smart process engineers, and they'll do a great job. I said, but if you expect data scientists to do that kind of work, they will get their resumes together and they will quit. And we had a long conversation about it because it was just really hard for them to understand that you just couldn't tell these highly qualified, highly skilled data scientists to do this kind of work and they wouldn't find it fulfilling. I said, no, that's not something that they're interested in doing. So it's one of those things that we have to get management, senior management, executive management to understand that these people are very bright and very talented and they're in high demand and they can pretty much go wherever they want.
Absolutely. I agree with that. But what has changed, Sean? I mean, is it the velocity of data? Is it the new variety of data or the volume of the data? I mean, businesses were able to actually function, let's say, a decade ago with using traditional ways of doing analytics. What has changed recently and requires them to change their methods?
Well, it's interesting. The word analytics is probably stretched and contorted in many different ways. And I hear it all the time. I hear it every day. We sit down and people say, oh, well, we want to do some analytics. I might be talking to someone in finance or supply chain or manufacturing. And the first thing I say is, let's make sure that we're on the same page. What kind of analytics are you expecting? What kind of analytics do you want to do? And often they want to do a dashboard or a business intelligence report or something, and they want to blend together a couple sources of information. That's not analytics. That's business intelligence. And that's, just data integration. So I say, well, we can get people to do that. I have people on staff that do those kind of things, but that's not advanced analytics. So if we have a conversation that says we want to model what's happening in the world and we want to predict what's going to happen in the future, we want to prescribe the best outcome possible or the best actions possible, and we might want to simulate or optimize what's happening. Okay, those 4 activities are advanced analytics. Now we're in the ballpark of what a data scientist wants to do, and we can do that. Now, if it's backward-looking historical reporting, there's no creativity there. There's lots of good people that can do that who are skilled. Start at A, end at C, and you're done, and away it goes. But advanced analytics is a horse of a different color.
Right. I completely agree. I think the important keyword here is predicting things. These things were not really feasible to be done in the past, at least not with conventional tools or conventional education. You need specialized tools, specialized people, obviously, in order to be able to perform that. All right, that's good. There are some people saying hi, so let's say some hi back, John. What do you think?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So we've got Sarah. Hi, guys. Sarah here from Sydney. Hello, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah. How are you?
We've got Nizar, and he's saying hi to Sarah. Well, okay. Well, hi back to you, Nizar.
Hello, Nizar.
We've got Alexander here from Melbourne. Hey, Alexander, how you doing?
Lovely town, Melbourne.
We've got David, my good friend David here from Dallas. Hey, David. We've got Muhammad. Hello from Dubai.
Nice.
We've got Sarah, another Sarah, and she's Sarah and Christian from
Aurora.
DSO Hygiene Excellent in Aurora. Hello.
I'm in Chicago.
Oh, your neighbors. We've got Zara here from the Gold Coast, where the sunshine always.
Is it the Gold Coast in Australia or the Gold Coast in Chicago? There are two.
Well, I guess I'm more inclined to the one in Australia, but she can confirm that. Zara, if you're hearing us, tell us from where exactly. We've got Jonathan here from Toronto, and we've got LinkedIn user, which is, I think we're not able to see his name due to the privacy option that he had, but he's from Istanbul. Hello there.
Nice to see people from Turkey.
Yeah, we've got people from all over the world, Asia, Australia, Americas. Cool, I like that. And we've got here Sahil saying hello. Hello, Sahil. And we've got Tyler, and he's saying, hi, John. I started reading your latest book a few days ago. A couple chapter in and enjoying it. It's going to be a great reference for me. That's excellent.
Great to hear, Tyler. That was the idea of the book, is that you could go back to it over and over again and refer to it when you need guidance and looking for insight as you go through your analytics journey. Great to hear it.
And we will talk about your book, John, at some point in this episode. We've got Sahil. He's saying he's from Melbourne. Hello, Sahil. And let's go with the last one here. David. Hey, he's David from Raleigh, North Carolina. Hello, David.
I lived in Raleigh for 2 years. Lovely town.
Absolutely. I've been there once, and I believe it is a really great place. Very bushy, as we say in Australia here.
There's a lot of foliage, that's for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So continuing on our topic, Sean, what is so special or different about analytics team? I think I've read somewhere that you say analytics team are not like typical development team or projects teams. Why do you believe so? And why do you believe they need different treatment?
Well, like I said earlier, they're very creative people. They're an interesting hybrid, a mix of creativity and technology and curiosity, bringing those factors together. It's really intriguing when you start doing an advanced analytics project. You may be trying to do a really interesting forecast, or you may be trying to predict where customers will come from or when customers will leave. And you watch people do these projects, and they're bringing together many different sources of data. That's one of the things that we see that's different about these analytics projects, is that in the past we've had people talk about big data and say, oh, well, we want to use terabytes of data or petabytes of data of this single type of data. And you can do that, but it's generally not as effective as bringing together 4, 5, 6 different sources of data. That alone takes someone who's very skilled and very curious about data. Then you get to a point of where you've cleaned the data, you've integrated it, and then you get to feature engineering. And feature engineering is really where the rubber meets the road. There are data scientists who can get into feature engineering, and it is more of an art than it is a science. There is, of course, lots and lots of math involved in it, and it may look scientific from that perspective, but there is an art to it. And some people can do it in the span of 3 or 4 minutes, or maybe half a day. And some people just can't get it done. It's just impossible for them to understand. So there is a fair amount of art in understanding the features that are required to come up with a predictive model, depending on what you're trying to predict. And they're all different. So, some people are very good at it, some people not so much. And I maintain that it's a creative, artistic process. And it's hard for some people to learn and understand.
Agreed in that. And how do you think is the right approach to start building analytics team? I know that there are a couple of ways to do that. There's the Artisanal, I believe, or the Modular model. Can you elaborate on them, please? Absolutely.
This is a continuum, a bipolar continuum, or two-pole, dipole continuum, however you like to say it, that I've evolved over the last decades when I've been building analytics teams. The Artisanal team is one where you hire a few people, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, and they're highly skilled in the things that we've been talking about: data acquisition, data integration, feature engineering, model building, and they do everything. They handle writing the charter of the project, they interface with subject matter experts, they talk to executives, they run the projects, they do it all. So you have a few very, very skilled people who handle every aspect of the project. That's the artisanal team. Then you may go to the other side of it and say, I want to have a modular team, and that's where you'll have 2 or 3 people do data acquisition, 2 or 3 people do feature engineering, 2 or 3 people do data integration, modeling, and so on. So that work moves through these different stations. So people say, oh, well, is there a difference in cost? Not really. When you look at a unit of work to be done, let's say you want to do 3 major projects at a time or 5 major projects, the cost for an artisanal team and a modular team or a factory team is going to be virtually the same. So you should hire the team architecture or the team modality that fits in your organization. And this comes down to culture, because in some organizations you have, you hire very highly skilled people, very, more like craftsmen than anything else. In other organizations, they like to have modular work that's broken up and it's more mechanistic in how it's executed. So you need to look at if you're a leader of a data science team, you want to look at, who do you have an affinity with? Do you want to work with people who are highly skilled? Do you want to work with a group of people that it's more modular in what they do? So your personal style of management makes a big difference. And then the culture of the organization. If you're more of a factory organization that breaks things up into little pieces, and that's fine, that's a great way to do it. You really don't want to hire someone in the data science team that handles all of it, because they come across as a know-it-all and they don't just fit into the organization and it doesn't work well. So it's not just the team architecture or modality that you have to take into account. It's you as a manager and the company culture that you really need to understand.
This brings me to a question where I need your view on what do you really think a leader of such team should have a background in or education in?
Well, that's a good question. I've seen some people be very successful who have had liberal arts backgrounds, some people with history degrees and English degrees or language degrees. I've seen people like myself who have computer science undergraduates and master's degrees in marketing do very well. The one thing that you really need is someone who has a very strong orientation towards communication. Because in my role, I have to communicate with C-level executives, executive vice presidents, senior vice presidents, frontline managers, my team, of course, and then subject matter experts. And what we do as a team and what I've imbued in my team is that when we're in a room having a meeting amongst ourselves, we can talk about hyperparameters and neural networks and decision trees and all sorts of technical stuff. And we can get right down into the weeds and enjoy ourselves and nerd out as much as we want. But once we leave that room and we run into someone in the hallway, if we run into someone who's in finance, we talk about our projects in the parlance of finance. Mm-hmm. If we're talking to someone from supply chain, we talk about things that matter to supply chain, and we use terminology that supply chain experts use. So you have to be a bit of a chameleon in how you communicate, because people don't want to hear your point of view in your language. They want to hear what's going to happen for them and what's going to benefit them in a language they understand and feel comfortable with.
And how do you speak every language when needed? Do you hire people who are subject matter expert in that area of the business so they can speak that language, or you go to that group of people and you work with them and you basically build things together?
That's a great question. What we do is we never do a project without a subject matter expert from the line of business dedicated to that project.
Right.
So I go to the executives and I say, okay, so you want us to forecast, your business, the volume of plasma you're going to get in your business. That's what we do at CSL Bearing. Right. And I say, okay, we're going to do that, and it's going to take us 4, 5, 6 months to do it. We need someone from your team who's an expert in understanding the operations of that business to be dedicated to this project. They can, of course, do other things. They can do their day job, but they need to carve out about 30% of their time to spend with us, because we don't hire people who are subject matter experts. We hire people who are analytical experts, and we go in and we work with the subject matter experts. They bring their expertise in operations. We bring our expertise in math and data. We blend them together, and then we come up with the best models we possibly can. So, if someone comes to us and says, we want you to do, this kind of project for us, supply chain effectiveness or efficiency, and then they also tell us we don't have time to work with you, you just have to do it, we respectfully decline to do that project.
Got it. And I couldn't agree with you more on that one, John. And I can relate to it. Basically, in my job, I tend to work with different industries. And I do work in data analytics, data science, data engineering, and integration. And every industry is obviously different. But we come to them and tell them, hey, we know data, we know analytics, and we know how to get value out from your data, but we don't know your business. I mean, someday I'll be speaking with oil and gas industry, the other day with financial services, the other day with education, and so on and so forth. We cannot really have expertise in all these areas. But once we go there, we sit actually with the subject matter experts there, and they provide us or feed us with the information that we need to build the models that we need to build, understand the data structure and all that, and that eventually going to be a win-win for us and them, obviously. So yeah, I can totally relate to that. You didn't really need to be expert in every business language in order to apply analytics or intelligence.
Yep, that's absolutely right. I mean, and I got to ask you a question, Issam. I mean, what other career can you have that allows you to go and talk to people about credit risk or fraud reduction or, manufacturing efficiency? I mean, analytics for me is it. This is the most exciting field in the world. I'm so happy that I stumbled into it when I was a young person. And, people ask me, why do you do it? Why? And I'm like, I'm hugely curious about everything in the world. So, when I was working at Dell a few years ago, we did a project on reducing fraud for one of the world's largest diamond and gold mining companies in the world. Right. And at the same time, we were building an analytical system for a hospital that would predict the probability that a patient on the operating table, would develop post-surgical sepsis. I mean, what other job gives you that kind of variety?
Only data, I believe. I mean, anything related to data, because data is the foundation for literally everything. And every organization at some point needs to dig into their data, get value out of the data that they have. So once you are in a job which allows you to do that, then I guess the sky is really the limit of the things that you can do. And you get the chance to meet different people, different industry, different places, which I believe, yeah, it's interesting job to have. 100% agree.
Yep, absolutely. It's fun.
Yeah, so we've got here more people coming in. Here's Motaz saying, hello, Issam and John. Hello, Motaz. We've got questions as well, so let's jump into those and some feedback. We've got David saying here, a balanced mindset, an abstract analytical who can communicate. I think he was referring to the leadership within a analytical group.
I think so.
Yeah, and we've got question here from LinkedIn user. I guess that's the same one that we said hi to before. He's saying, why do job descriptions for data leadership roles still focus on being so technical? Why would you steer the conversation away from the technical skills to the soft skills?
You're absolutely right in your question and how I steer it away from them. The question is that some of you may follow me on LinkedIn. You may be engaged with my thread of conversation and my posts. I saw someone posted the other day that they were questioning how technical a data science leader needed to be. And my response to them was, well, you need to understand what your team is doing. You need to have some skills in the area, and probably would be better if you were a practitioner. I was a practitioner before I became a leader. So those things are all good, but I don't do projects anymore. I sit down and I engage in conversations about feature engineering. I talk about models. I talk about neural net architectures and things like that, but I don't do those projects. I don't have time to do those projects. I'm a lapsed, analytical professional. I can sit down and do descriptive statistics, and I can, do some simple things if I need to. But my job as a leader is to bring the leadership organization together and have them understand why we're investing in advanced analytics and where we're going to see a return on investment. So, there's only 24 hours in the day, and that happens for all humans. There's nobody that gets more hours than anyone else. So you need to, as a leader, focus on where your biggest impact is going to be. And that's going to be in your soft skills and your communication. Now, of course, when you get into a project review or a code review and you're, well versed enough to get down there and ask, hey, this feature looks like it's better than that feature. Why did you trade it out? That's going to be an interesting conversation and one that your team is going to enjoy having with you. But if you spend more of your time doing that, then you're more of a hands-on data scientist than you are a data science leader.
So I think it's a combination, a balance of having a bit of understanding of technical keywords, at least how things work. You don't have to actually do them, but also a balance of soft skills when you are in such a role. Right, John?
Absolutely true. Absolutely.
All right, we've got a question here also from Sarah. Sarah is asking, as a recruiter, what is the best way to find the right candidates to fill up position in analytics team? Any special tips or websites to use?
I really don't use too many websites. I'm really big on LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm up to 15,682 connections. And I've been talking recently in my LinkedIn thread about I've been going into my connections. I know that we have a 30K connection limit on LinkedIn. So I've been pruning my network is what I've been doing. Some of the LinkedIn connections that I've had of people that just want to sell me stuff or, that don't really add value or historically might have been relevant but are no longer relevant. I try to build a very dense network. So what I have done, and I know other people have done this too, is that, I often will have friends come to me and say, or colleagues and say, I'm looking for a new job, and I will post it out on LinkedIn and say, hey, I know someone who's a great data scientist who's looking for this kind of role. So my approach to it is more networking based rather than going out and trying to find people cold. So Sarah, I know you got a tough job and I wish you the best at it, but you can fish around in my network and I'm happy to help you out in any way I can.
Well, that's great. Thanks for that, John. We've got a question here from Robin. He's saying, hi, John. I'm aspiring leadership role at data and analytics after being engineering leader in data and analytics for quite some time. Any guidance? How to proceed?
Yeah, I wish you the best. There's lots of leadership roles out there, and boy, it's just exploding right now how many leaders we do need in the field. So I think you'll be successful. It's always good to come from an engineering background. The one thing that I do caution the engineering people and the statistics people about is be a little bit more open in your thinking. We get trained very clearly and linearly in engineering school. We get a lot of linear training from statistics, but the data science area, as I said, needs a little bit more creativity and a little bit more leeway in the way we bring in data. One of the projects that we're doing right now is that we're taking data from a wide range of applications and we're looking at foot traffic. And people say, well, why are you interested in foot traffic? So we know in CSL, we have 270 donation centers around the United States. So we're modeling that foot traffic where we know what it really is. And then we're going to take the foot traffic from all the different locations of our competitors, the other 400 plus locations, and we're going to model their locations. Then we will actually have a good proxy for what their centers are doing and how they're performing, because we can't see it in any public filings. We can't get it from any reports. So we're just going to generate it ourselves. So that's a long way of going around, Robin, and saying, look at problems from many different perspectives. Be open, be fluid, be creative, because a lot of people would say, well, you can't get that information. It's not available. It doesn't exist. That's true. It doesn't exist. But we can find proxies that we can triangulate and we can create new metrics that give us insight and competitive advantage in the marketplace. That's what really interesting, really valuable data science leaders do.
Agree. Thanks for that advice, John. So back to our topic. John, having you being in the industry for over the 3 decades now, from your experience, what is an effective analytics team look like? What does great look like?
That's a great question. What I have seen great look like more often than not is it's an artisanal team, or it could be a hybrid team.
Hmm.
And that's where you hire. Hiring's tough. Everybody has to understand that hiring is difficult. There's no doubt about it. We were just having a conversation online the other day about the way resumes are just horrible. So much inflation and puffery and what people say they can do versus what they can do. And other people come in and downplay what they can do. And you just have to really work hard to find the good people out there. So if you can find 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 rock star data scientists, that's a good foundation for your team. And one thing that I want to make sure everybody on this session, this podcast understands is that you don't try to know everything. That's impossible. When I interview with people and they come in and they say, I'm an expert in neural nets and I know descriptive statistics and I am the greatest natural language processing programmer out there, I know they're lying to me. That's not true. Those people don't exist. So, come in and be honest, be humble, be an expert in something, focus on something and get really good at it. On our team, we have a person who's a natural language processing expert. We have a person who's a neural net expert. We have someone who's just the most amazing statistics person I've ever seen. And when they want to learn other areas, we put them together on projects and they collaborate and they learn from each other. So don't come in and think that you've got to be this unicorn data scientist, because there are a few of those people out there, but they're very rare. So be honest about who you are and what you want to do and what you're good at. So, we start out, we have some good rock star data scientists. We bring in other people to support them in a hybrid mode. We'll bring in people to do data acquisition. We'll bring in people to do data integration. And now I'm talking about more of a hybrid team. Those things that can be mechanistically automated or done quickly or given to a bigger team, we have other people do those. And then we have the data scientists work on the very high value, high return kind of activities. So you'll have some core data scientists, you may have some data engineers. On the other side, you may have some data visualization professionals as well. So, when I have people come to me and say, hey, I want to be a data scientist, my first question is, do you really? And they're like, yeah, well, it's a great job. It's really sexy and very interesting. And the first thing I say is, okay, well, go to Kaggle and do some projects. And then sometimes they'll come back and go, boy, I hated that. It was just all this data management, data integration. It was just horrible. I'm like, that's what data science is. Yeah. It's not just all visualizations and things like that. So what do I think a high performance team looks like? It has a bunch of different roles. It has data roles. It has data science roles. It has visualization roles. It has automation roles. One of the things that we work on trying to do really hard is that when we build a system, we want to build the automation into the front end of the data acquisition. We want to build a compelling user interface so we can give the application to the end users. And we want to then support it from afar. And then we want to go on and build other things. Our team is a build team. We don't want to run things. We want to build things. So, you have to have a mindset too that you're building and delivering useful analytics that are going to be used by your users. You don't want them always coming to you and saying, hey, I need you to do this, or hey, I need you to do that. In the beginning of launching applications, that does happen, because people are not very good at communicating what's good for them and what is the best experience they want to have. So you will do that in the beginning. You will tweak and train your applications and change them a bit. But you want to have a mindset that you want to build a lot of really cool stuff rather than run a lot of really cool stuff.
Absolutely. And speaking of having a couple of, really good skilled folks in the team, what about having juniors and having maybe interns in the team? Because in my experience, we did that and it was fascinating success. Having interns in the team, I mean, they did give us a new perspective that we didn't have, which was interesting. But I would like to hear your view on that, John.
Yeah, Sam, that's a really great point. What we do, we've hired a team. We got a great team. They're fantastic folks. They work really hard for us. We don't hire experienced people anymore, really. What we do is we bring in interns. Last year, we had 6 of them. And we found one person who's just amazing. This kid is fantastic. I mean, he runs circles around other people. He's incredible. So next year we'll have another 6. And, we'll bring them back 2-3 times, and, we'll try to get them when they're freshmen in college and bring them back as sophomores and juniors and seniors. And people look at us and go, wow, you're really having these people around a lot. And I'm like, yeah, because we get to know how they act. We get to know how they feel. We know what their experiences are. We know what they want to do. We know what they're good at. And then sometimes we had one kid that came back for the third time, and he said, I just don't like working here anymore. And we're like, okay, cool. That's great. That's fantastic. He's a great data scientist. He's got a wonderful job in another organization. He seems really happy. So I love interns. I think interns are great. So, we're always looking to bring in bright sparks. If you read the book, which I think you have, part of the reason is that, we often give interns impossible projects, things that experienced staff will look at and go, that can't be done. And you know what? Young people, because they don't know what can and can't be done, will just do it.
Absolutely. My experience with interns, there are people who are hungry for new challenges, for proving themselves, and they come often with lots of ideas that will blow your mind right away. They've got the energy, which is great, and there is nothing you need to undo or unlearn from it, because they're fresh and they just open to new things and new methods and new technology and all that. So this is a message to all hiring managers out there. Do get into hiring interns, fresh graduates. It's a great thing to have, and you will see the benefits once you actually start and going in that direction. So thanks for that advice, Sean.
No, it's a great question. I love interns. They're wonderful.
Yeah. So speaking of all those good things, what about the challenges that you would face when you want to start analytics team in specific organization? You've got those naysayers. You've got those who will always say, no, why would we do that? Why do we need that? Why should we put budget on that? And so on and so forth. How do you manage politics and other challenges?
That's an interesting question. Politics is always there. There's no doubt about it. And there are people who are the naysayers. So, my approach at this point is that I just don't really spend too much time listening to them. I go to the people who have the power and the ability to give me the money and the time and the resources I need. And then, we're at such a time in the data and analytics evolution that there's so much work to be done. Mm-hmm. You don't have to fight with the person who runs supply chain who doesn't believe in analytics. Just go over to manufacturing, or go over to pricing, or go over to customer acquisition, or some other area, and do good work. And then what we generally have done is that each team that I've started in different organizations, we work really hard at the first few projects to make sure that they're high value, they're strategic, and they deliver a return to the organization. And after you do that 3, 4, 5 times, then people stop demanding return on investment cases from you. They look at it and they say, okay, I can either have you spend time building this case that's going to prove that what you're going to do is going to deliver value, or I can just let you get at it and get it done. And generally that's what happens after you do 3, 4, 5 projects, is that people show up and they say, hey, you've done great work for, in pricing, or you've done great work in understanding operations. We'd like to have that too. Can you start today? And then you just jump into it and you just keep doing the work. And eventually the people who have been the naysayers usually get replaced, or they retire, or they move on, or they're told, you really need to work with the analytics team. Then you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, you'll always find those people anywhere you go, literally everywhere you go. And you've just had to deal with that one way or another. And one way is just like you said, and starts with small projects, small wins. Once they see what can be done, they'll just come to you and asking for your help. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we did a project recently where we redid a forecasting system, and we knew that it was going to be a hard adoption cycle. We knew that we could do good work. We built the forecasting system and we got it down to within a single-digit error term. The forecast that they were using before had a double-digit error term. They had 35 people working on the forecast, and it was available 4 times a year. So we built it with one data scientist over 4 months. We rolled it out, and they looked at it for 6 months and would not use it. And finally, they came back and said, how many people does it take to run this? And we said, nobody. It runs automatically every day. And they said, well, what would we do with these 35 other people? And I said, well, we've already built you a plan to upskill and reskill them and use them as analysts rather than data management people. And they're like, wow. Then they started using the forecasting, coming back and going, your forecast is really good. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. So we didn't force it. We didn't go, stomping around going, hey, they're not using our good work. They don't know what we're doing. They don't understand how smart we are. We just left it there and let them keep playing with it and answering their questions. And finally they said, all right, this is the official forecast.
Yeah, I can relate pretty much to this story quite a lot. I work in sales engineering, and what I do is I go to customers from every industry, and I try to obviously sell them some of the products that we have in data analytics and data management. And the way we do it is we just have to, do a small proof of concept that this is actually going to help you achieve more. And that's what it takes. We get a lot of those naysayers, people who reject the idea and all that. But once they start to see the value of it, like you said, they get really impressed and then they want a piece of that. So yeah, good point on that, John. So about back to the teams and managing the team. Is there a specific way or tips you have to motivate team members that works in analytics? Because like you said, they are unique people and generally they have probably different needs or aspirations as individual. From your experience, any tips on that?
Yeah, there's something I've created. It's called the personal project portfolio. And I haven't heard anybody else talk about this. Maybe other people have done it. I always use a saying that all good ideas have 1,000 fathers. So I have no belief that I'm the only one that's ever thought of this, but I'm the only one that's written a book on it. So we'll go with that at least. So the way I do it is that obviously we've talked about the creative nature of the analytics teams. They're also fiercely independent and somewhat introverted for the most part. So they like to do things they're on their own. They like to work really hard. So the way we do it, the way I do it is that, we give each data scientist 2 main projects. And, a main project may be something that lasts 6 months, 9 months, maybe up to 2 years. And they have 2 of those projects and they can move back and forth between them. Then they'll also have 2 or 3, maybe 4 small projects that may take a couple days to a week to do. And then we have service requests. Every organization has service requests. What is a service request? That's, generally what happens is that a month or 2 before the board meeting or a week before the board meeting, an executive will show up and say, I need to understand, the lifetime value of this segment of customers. So it's a fire drill, really. So what we do is we work on those and we give people information that makes them look smart in meetings. It's basically what the exercise is. So we do that. And each of the data scientists has those projects and they manage them on their own. So each week we have what we call a center of excellence meeting and everybody talks about the projects they're working on. They're responsible and accountable for everything to do with those projects. I have one-on-ones every 2 weeks with my team and we talk about their projects. And then there's a technical meeting that I don't attend. And that's where all the data scientists get together and they do code reviews and they argue about analytical techniques and stuff like that. So what does that do? That allows the data scientists to have autonomy, responsibility, and accountability without me being on their back. I hate micromanagement. I'm not a good person to be, stand up meetings in Agile. I find that to be the antithesis of what a data science team should be doing. What we want to do is we want to give people good work, hard work, challenging work, and we want them to go off and do it. Now, what is one of the other benefits of doing this kind of project and team management? One thing that generally will happen many times to data scientists is you'll have a project, you'll come up with a bright idea, you'll use a bunch of data, you'll set up features, you'll run it through, and you'll find out it does not work. Now, if that's the only project you're working on, generally what happens then is you freak out. You start worrying that, oh my God, I've wasted all this time. Now I'm in a dead end. I can't figure it out. I got to quit or I'm going to get fired. Data scientists are prone to a little bit of overreaction too. So what happens is if they have this other portfolio of projects, they can leave that dead end and go work on something else. And it gives them a way to switch their focus easily and quickly, and not, call me in the middle of the night and go, oh my God, this is terrible, which I don't enjoy those calls. So generally what will happen is a week after they've run into that wall, they'll come back to me and say, what I was working on, it really didn't work. It was a total failure. It was a complete bust. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to do? And they said, well, in the past week, I've been working on this other project. And while I was doing it, I had this other idea. So I can salvage about 50% what I did. And now I really got a good idea, and it's really moving forward, and I'm very excited. And I'm like, great. So, data scientists can self-soothe and not worry about their career, and not be freaked out that they're going to, be fired or something for taking a risk and failing. And they can just move on and move back and forth between these threads of work that seem to be very supportive and a great way for them to be productive.
Absolutely. And I guess this is actually how you build a robust analytics processes that basically drive results in the real world.
Yes, absolutely.
And my next question would be on that, John, is what is the best way to move those robust analytics processes into integration analytics models and processes into operational production processes? Any advice on that?
Yep, that's a great question, Issam. And this is something that, if you've read the book, where we're going in this dialogue is that, most analytics projects don't fail in data acquisition, feature engineering, and modeling. They fail in getting into production. That's where the problem lies. And it's really an issue. It's a change management issue. It's not a technology issue at all. And it's a failure of people like me. It's our failure. It's not the failure of the data science team. So what we need to do as data science leaders is we need to start talking to the executives when we start the project. When they commit to the project that they're going to work with us on, I go to them and have a meeting. Pre-COVID, it was over lunch or dinner or glass of wine or whatever it was, and said, look, this is an exciting project and we're really excited to be working with you. But I want you to understand that once we're done, you're going to need your teams to change the way they do business. Then they say, what are you talking about? And we say, well, we're going to come up with insights that prove that the way that you do business right now is suboptimal, and you're going to need to change. And if you're not ready to do that, then we should stop the project, because you're going to get to a point.
Is this where you wrote, I guess, in your book, an analogy where you said people are like analytical models?
Yes. Yes, that's absolutely right. Yes, people are like analytical models. When their minds are open, they can learn and they can do some really interesting things. When their minds are closed, we can't get much done. So yes, that's a great reminder. Thank you for that. So yeah, we have those conversations, and sometimes the executives will say, and I've heard these things. These are true remarks. One guy said to me, "Well, I'm going to retire in 2 years, so it really sounds like a lot of work, and I'm not interested in doing it." And I say, "Okay, fine. Well, we'll just wait for you to go, and then when your predecessor comes in, we'll make the changes." And other people are like, "Yeah, that sounds great. I know that this is suboptimal. This process has been around for 10, 15, 20 years, and we need to change it. And this project that we're working on together is a great catalyst to do so." So you got to be ready to hear where people are and what they're motivated by.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a smart person here, but I've read something in your book where you say projects are trees, and you tell people do not lose sight of the forest for the trees. Is this relevant to what you have just said?
It is relevant. There's some differences there in what I call projects and programs. Mm-hmm. Projects are things that you do once, and projects are fine. We have people show up all the time and say, "Hey, I need this number. I need to understand the lifetime value of our customers." All right, fine. That's a number. Sure, we can give you that. And then I have other people show up and say, "I want to go on a journey of improving the customer experience of everybody that walks through our front door." That's a program. And you really shouldn't confuse the two. Projects are great and they're one-time things, and you do them and you're done. Programs are ongoing efforts where you're there to make a strategic difference in the business. And both are great. Just takes different effort and a different focus.
100%. I agree on that. We've got feedback here from LinkedIn user saying great advice to switch between projects to get some mind space to work through it mentally, subconsciously, while still achieving goals elsewhere.
Well said.
Right. A reminder for guys, keep those feedbacks coming. If you've got any question, do ask us. John is here to help us with his expertise and to answer your questions. Now, since we've got not much time left, actually, I would like to jump into your book. John, first question, what is the motivation for writing this book?
That's a great question. I wrote my first book in 2017, Analytics, How to Win with Intelligence, and the publisher is now urging me strongly to write version 2 of that. So it had been 3 years since I wrote a book, and I really wanted to give myself a challenge. So it was last year, January 1st, I sat down and I started writing this book, and I wanted to see if I could write a substantial book. This book is 10 chapters, 400 pages, 100,000 words. I wanted to see how fast I could write it. So I wrote it in the span of 3.5 months. April 13th, I was done. From January 1st to April 13th, wow. I wrote the whole book. And then I challenged my editor, publisher. I said, I want this book published within 6 months. And it was published on June 30th. So the idea is that I had all this knowledge pent up in my head about, managing analytics teams and what it took and how to be successful and the pitfalls and the problems. And believe me, everybody listening to me right now, that I'm telling you the truth, I've made every mistake you can possibly make in my career. And I just thought, if I can help anybody avoid any of those errors, I'm going to pour it into this book. So that's why I did it.
This is absolutely amazing, John. I believe I had searched before for a book which actually is specially designed for this topic, and I really couldn't find, one book that tells everything that a person need, a leader need, if he is going to build analytics team. Because as you said, analytics team is something new, and they're different from development teams, from projects teams, and they need special way to build them, innovate them, and so on and so forth. And you've got all these expertise, and you put them in just one book, which is great. And by the way, wow, amazing. 3 months you wrote that. I know people take a year at least in writing a book, so well done on that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was one of those things that, my wife, I told her I was going to write a book, and then I get up early in the morning and start writing it, sometimes 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. So I wrote it while I was doing my day job as well. So we were talking, and she'd ask me periodically, how you doing? And I'd be like, I got up to chapter 7 done, or chapter up to 8 done. And she's like, oh, this is insane. You're just, John, I can't believe you.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. So everybody listening to us and watching us, this is the book. It's called Building Analytics Teams. And this is the QR code. Just grab your phone, scan this one. It will redirect you directly to Amazon for the book page itself. Get it if you really want to build an astonishing analytics team. So I've read that book, and it does give you the real thing. It's not commercial stuff. It's something that will actually help you in building the right analytics team.
Thank you.
All right, so we've got feedback here from Nicole saying, love the insights and perspective in this talk. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nicole, for that feedback.
Nicole's great. We have all sorts of interesting conversations on LinkedIn. She asks some of the best questions. I really enjoy talking with Nicole.
Great. Look, John, we can go on and on and on for this, but we've got really 1 minute left before I end this episode. But before I end it, I would like to have any final words from you.
If you're interested in data and analytics, it's a great field. It's a really wonderful career. Like I said earlier, I've been at it for 37 years. I'm here as a resource for you. So if you're a student that's just getting into it in undergraduate or graduate school, or you're a seasoned professional that wants to do more, link up with me on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn, and let's have a dialogue about how I can help you.
Absolutely. Do that, guys. Look him up, John Thompson, on LinkedIn. If you're watching this, you're able to see his tag, so go directly there and follow him. He got great posts happening almost every day. John, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure to have you on this podcast, and I look forward to speak to you again in the future.
Yes, it was wonderful. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. All right, so thank you everybody for joining us today in this live podcast. I hope you did enjoy it as much as I have. It has been tremendous information. I know it's a bit overwhelming, but it's really worth it. Do get the book. It really has everything that you need. Thank you for tuning in. And as usual, as I tell you, please do help share this content of this video to everybody else by simply liking this video and sharing it on your social network. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe button over there. If you are watching this on LinkedIn, do connect with me and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you very much and have a great day.